We are about to make a big batch of grains with Claire, which she'll then show us how to turn into 3 different delicious dishes. So Claire, what grains do you include?
You can use any whole grain. I've got barley, wheat berries, brown rice, quinoa. You could use spelt or farro. Any whole grain will work. You want to cook a really big batch of one type of grain. I wanted to kind of get around, people talk about meal prepping, like doing a whole bunch of stuff at the beginning of the week as a favor to your future self, right, for the rest of the week. I've never been able to do that. I end up with 16 containers of chili that I never end up eating. So instead, I wanted to get the building blocks made in advance. And one of my favorite building blocks is a whole grain. Now, whole grains take a long time to cook, but they freeze beautifully. So I'm going to do barley today, and I'm actually just going to boil it up, and a huge batch of it. And this just goes into the water, and I cook it in what's called the pasta style. And so that just means that I'm boiling a huge pot of water and I'm adding the grains. So there's no water to grain ratio. You just bring it to a boil and cook it until it's done.
This is such a smart idea. So now that you have the grains done, you're going to make a grain bowl with tahini dressing. So here's what you need for this recipe. You need tahini, lemon juice, maple syrup, garlic powder, salt, water, your big batch of whole grains, chicken, squash, avocado, arugula, crumbled feta, walnuts, and fresh mint. Dinner or lunch is served. Claire?
It's delicious. And once those grains are cooked, I'm going to cool them, but then I'm going to freeze them in 3 separate pouches. And that means I have the building blocks for 3 separate meals. I'm going to show you one of my favorites now, which is the grain bowl. So it's a really simple tahini dressing. Again, I've got my beautiful, simple tahini, and it just takes a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of salt, a little bit of maple syrup. Ooh, yeah, so using maple syrup instead of honey, which makes it vegan, and then a little bit of water. Always seems strange to add water when you're making a salad dressing, but there you go. It works beautifully with the tahini. And that just kind of, it looks really thin now, but as I stir it, it will actually thicken up. And this is delicious. I had somebody say about this dressing that her kids wanted to drink the leftovers, that they loved it so much. So that's exactly the kind of feedback I want to hear. And then once you have that nice dressing, it's really simple to just grab a bowl, and you've got your grains because you're just pulling them out of the freezer and reheating them if you want them nice and warm. And then you can top it however you want. So I'm going to start with a little bit of my nice cooked barley, and I'm going to add some beautiful greens here. You can use arugula if you like that, or just some nice salad greens. I happen to have some leftover cooked sweet potato and some red peppers, roasted red peppers, but any nice vegetable would do. I'll just pile those on. That looks good. Everything's better with feta, am I right? Like a nice little crumbling of feta, and then maybe a couple of walnuts. Sure, I have put an avocado on there as well. And then you have this beautiful dressing to drizzle over top. And another great meal you can serve deconstructed, so everybody can assemble their own. But again, it's something that I can use essentially using leftovers, but I've got these grains in the freezer. So this would have taken me 40 minutes to boil. On a weeknight, that's not really a good idea for me. But when I have it in the freezer, it's a favorite of my future self, and it's a building block for this meal and 2 others.
I love doing a favor for your future self. That's a very smart idea. Now, are there any other dishes that you can make with the batch of grains that you might want to suggest?
2 of the other ones that are in the book are this modern fried rice. So again, that is using the barley, the beautiful barley with some edamame and a bit of broccoli and some egg. And this is a lovely vegetable grain salad. So that's kind of more of a Mediterranean feeling. So for all this entire chapter of the book, I have the master recipe on the left, and then 3 ways to use that master recipe. So you're not just eating the same bowl of chili, the same bowl of soup again and again and again. You're taking a lot of the work off of your shoulders on the day-to-day basis, but you're not eating that same dish over and over again.
What I love is that you're giving us recipes, but you're also giving us tips for organization. So very uncomplicated. Claire, very good. Thank you for that.